Ich höre dich. Du musst jetzt aber auch still sein. Entschuldigung. Oder dich muten. So, hello everybody. We are back with BiCoTa 2, the Bitwig Community Talk, with some technical issues in the first talk, but now we improved hopefully everything and are back. And so, hello everybody. We are back with BiCoTa 2, the Bitwig Community Talk.
Apropos technical problems.
Yeah, that was a YouTube feed. Great. So, and I'm here with Odo. Hello, Odo.
Hello, Jürgen. Nice to meet you again.
Okay, so quick introduction. So, who are we? So, I guess if you're a Bitwig user, you are familiar with what I do. So, I do Driven by Moss, so all these controller extensions, and you might have heard of me. And also, Odo is doing a live stream. Maybe you can add some words about that.
Yes, I do regularly live streams on YouTube and Twitch and do some tutorials here and there and around Bitwig and other stuff like plugins and things I'm interested in. So that's it.
That's it, right? And so the main idea is to talk about a new Bitwig version. So we do an issue not daily or weekly or monthly, but when there is a new Bitwig version, and we have now Bitwig 5.3 at least in a very high beta. So I guess there is not much stuff happening in that way. And we also want to invite a guest for each episode who is also a Bitwig user. And this time we have the one and only, drumroll, Mr. Polarity is here with us. Good evening.
Hey, good evening. Hello.
Hey, Odo. Hey, Jürgen. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for joining us.
Great having you.
Yeah, I'm still a bit nervous for no reason at all because I'm doing my own streams, but hopefully it goes down until the end of the stream. So I'm trying to calm down. I have no idea why, but it's still there. But thanks for inviting me, and hopefully a great stream.
I think so, yes.
Sure, yeah, great. We are nervous as well, so don't worry about that. You're in good community here, and yeah, why not talk about a bit about music? We're always talking gear, but it's actually the gear is for making music, and I'm really curious. How did you get into music in the first place?
Oh, that's actually a long topic, but I was always kind of dabbling with music in some kind of way. But my father was actually playing the drums. So I was always having some kind of gear around me, synthesizers, drum sets, and so on. And then at some point, it kind of clicked, or I played around with the drums and, had some fun with it. And then at some point, I become old enough. So I had my own C64, Amiga PC, and so on. And then I started kind of playing around with this and doing electronic music, also listening to Prodigy and drum bass and so on. And it kind of became, it started at some point. I think I also listened a lot to, what was the name? Fatboy Slim. This was actually so heavy break beats, heavy drum sets and so on. So coming from the drums. So then it kind of, stick with me until now, of course.
I'm also just got lost in old computers. So it's great you mentioned Commodore C64 and all this stuff. So you come with a more groove-oriented aspect to music, and then got in touch with computers or trackers, I guess.
I remember the C64, it was actually not that much. I think there wasn't any trackers back then in the day, the C64. But I remember I had some kind of application where you could play the drums. So you had like two joysticks. So the C64 had two input ports for joysticks. And you could just take two joysticks and then play the drums with this, right, rhythmically. So it was like pretty straightforward, no sequencer at all.
Okay.
But then with Amiga,
wait. How did that work with two joysticks? You could play the drums. How did that work? So
you push upwards, and then it's basically a snare drum. Push downward, and it's a hi-hat or something else. I can remember it, at least that it was like this. It was pretty simple, actually.
And that was a software, or did it send out MIDI, or how did it work?
No. It was software. It also producing the drums because C64 is pretty known for the sound chip, I guess. Also,
Sure,
it was actually a synthesizer with a attached computer, if you want to call it this way. And you could just, it was pretty simple. It sounds like 8-bit drums. but today it's on vogue again, 8-bit sounds, I guess. But then I moved on at some point to the Amiga, Commodore Amiga. And then at some point I bought some kind of cartridge you could put in the backside of the Amiga.
You were
And
right.
then you were able to record sounds, 22 kilohertz with 2 seconds. That's it, 1 megabyte full. And then you could sequence with that inside of a tracker, right? So this was the was the beginning.
Yeah.
But the real thing, what really was fun was that you had some kind of live mode. So you could send in audio signals and then use some live effects like a short reverb, delay, and distortion, something like this. And then it came back out with 2 seconds delay or something like this. But it was fun. Were the first experiments, and yeah.
And how did you learn about chords and melodies and all these things as a drummer?
Actually, pretty late, to be honest. Also with drum and bass, a lot of the stuff is actually not in a scale at all. It's chromatic. It's all over the place. It's more about sound design, pitch bending, up and down. So I was always producing drum and bass. So I'd never dug into chords or melodies and so on. It was pretty late. I think it was maybe with Bitwig, where I knew some stuff before, some basic stuff, but I really tried to go into this with Bitwig Studio then when I got Bitwig for whatever reason, and then just straight up make ambient from that point on.
I really like that, because you're the kind of same what I'm thinking about. You don't have to learn in advance all this stuff about music theory and so on. Just start playing, just start doing, and you will discover things.
That's pretty important. I see sometimes in the community people say like, oh, I need to learn more like music theory or harmony theory and so on. I need to learn everything and so on. It's actually not helpful. I think it's just okay if you learn just a bit that you can be started and then develop your own systems on top of that to end up in different places, because the worst thing that can happen is that you end up in a place where someone else is already, making music. So that's the point. And also today with the rise of AI, everything is basically average, right?
It gets streamlined in a way.
So, exactly. So it's basically you want to be special in a way. You want to have special melodies, special chord progressions, and kind of unique sounds in a way.
And that's important, that you still keep such a playful character instead of just always play in scales and always think in the right chord progressions and everything. Just like a lot of really experienced engineers tell you, like, listen to what you do. Just listen. Use your ears. Listen. Feel to it. Use the performance moment, and don't calculate the scales or the chord progressions that are right, or people think that are right.
I mean, it's easy to use something like, that's why I was against scale highlighter. Or I wasn't against scale highlighters. I kind of like it, but it's not like the most important thing, because it leads to this behavior, right? You put a grid on top and then you paint in the notes, and then you have like a diatonic, boring melody or chord progression. But I guess it's okay for beginners and so on to have like at least a rough guide for something that makes something sound melodic.
Sure, or just a little helper, like, oh, what was again the scale of? So I have just a rough idea and rough direction where to go.
Yeah, it's also interesting when you have like you see this arc all the time when someone starts out making sounds or starting to produce music, and then you have like this middle place where kind of everything, and then you have like this end phase where I try to make basically the same mistakes I made in the beginning, right? So I try to be playful. I try to forget things. I don't make it too precise. and so on. So, and you can see exactly what kind of questions people ask, where they are in their journey from beginner to pro or like old producer. Yeah,
that's a funny thing, because there was a time where people were so straight on scales and tools that they help to keep on playing on scales, and at the same time people were looking for randomness. Everything should be random, and this was so completely surreal, because they said, okay, I want to stick on all the scales and everything else is random. Why not everything random, or maybe like something in between or so?
Yeah, because it's so unfamiliar, basically, because you are used to what you hear all, in all your life, all your beloved songs, they are on a certain scale, and that's what you are used to. And then you bring in something in between, right? A frequency in between, and then it sounds completely off. You say, oh, that's not for me. But we all know it, right? If you make a loop, if you start out with a loop and you listen to it long enough, it sounds good at some point.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
It's just your brain adapts to everything, basically.
Stockholm loop.
So someone wrote just, I hope Rick Beato isn't watching.
Yeah,
sure.
I think he's called the gatekeeper, right? Internally for some people. You need to have at least a certain type of skill or a certain taste in music to be a good producer, in a way.
But at the end, it's okay. People are like that, and it's important to know about music theory, or maybe know everything about music theory. But it's not always that necessary, like you said, that people know it from the beginning to do that. Because at one point, we had that in the last episode with Pat, that he said he was afraid when he knew everything about it, he loses his creativity. And this is, I think, you're pointing out, like, it's okay to know a lot about things, but don't be blocked by not knowing things. Just try.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's a term for this. It's like a Dunning-Kruger effect in a way. It's like you need to know it, so you know that you don't need it, if you know what I mean.
Maybe yes. Yeah.
So if you don't know it, you think you need to know it, and then you know it, and then actually it
doesn't matter.
Yeah. And then if you know it and you say to other people, oh, you don't need that, they don't believe you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but maybe this is part of the journey, you start over with something, and you see all these guys and girls doing stuff. You say, oh, I want to do this, all of that, and I have to know everything because they are 40 years in music business. And then you say, yeah, just start, just do. Don't think about it, learn on the way, and be curious.
It's a bit the same with mixing. In the beginning, I always read it's just listen and do it. It's easy. that's what the pros always says. And then 30 years later, it clicks with you, and then you say the same. Yeah, but
yeah, the thing is, you need to develop multiple skills at the same time. It's not only that you can do certain things, but you need also the skill to listen to something and then say, oh, this is actually good for this, for a certain context. So I know exactly when I hear a snare, oh, this snare is a snare I can use inside of this kind of track, but not in this kind of track where it makes sense. Or you also need to develop some kind of taste for what you like. So you also need to listen to a lot of things and then make decisions in your brain. And so you need to develop a lot of different skills.
Yeah, no, that's right.
So so for you, it was always electronic music from this drum and bass area, or
yeah. Always electronic music for some kind of reason. I always hated guitar sounds, something like Nirvana. I never really liked, but I started later on to like it when I was older. So like in my age now, I can listen to it and it's completely good and I like it. But in the 90s or the starting of 2000s and so on, it was straight electronic music. It was also the rise of the electronic music, right? Prodigy, drum bass was on top and so on. Techno and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it was more on the rise then, and of course, back then it was a different time. So hardware was really expensive then. If you want to start out, you needed to have hardware back then. And then having just a computer and you can do everything in a computer was pretty new and fresh. And pro producers were probably laughing at you when you do everything inside of the box. Today it's completely normal, but back then it was unheard of. And I remember downloading Fruity Loops. This was the name back then. It's not FL Studio. It was Fruity Loops. I remember downloading this in version 0.98 or something like this. It was just a step sequencer with multiple samples you couldn't load in. And I was making beats with this. And I was like, oh, this is great. I can load in samples and then play them in a sequence and then export it as a wave loop or something like this. Yeah. So this was pretty dope back then because there was nothing else. There was no VST, no plugins. You could only send out MIDI, and maybe you had a good sound card with a MIDI module on it, right? And this was playing some predefined sounds. You couldn't exchange these sounds. So it was pretty basic. So having then a software where you could load in samples and make a sequence out of it was really dope. And I remember making music with Fruity Loops, doing the drums in Fruity Loops, exporting as a drum loop, and then using a standalone synthesizer called SimSynth, if anyone can remember this. It's pretty old. Or Rubber Duck was also another acid. I'm probably too old for you guys. Rubber Duck and Hammerhead. Can anyone remember Hammerhead? Or it was all standalone software.
Yeah.
And you could do sequences with this. So I made basically drums in Fruity Loops, exported this, and then I also made in SimSynth synth loops. There was like a small sequencer at the bottom. And then combining these wave loops inside of Sonic Foundry Acid. I think it was later bought by Sony also. And the big thing about Sonic Foundry Acid was that it could stretch audio. It was top-notch software back then. I remember this. It was pre-Ableton Live. Ableton Live was not on the horizon at this time. So I was using Acid, and I could drag in my loops, could stretch it, pitch it up or down, and this was my sequencer. No plugins, nothing. This is how I started to make music.
I bought the first version of Wavelab only for the reason it had a reverb, which was totally stupid because a hardware device would have been so much better. But nevertheless,
I think I also remember that before I started to do this with Fruity Loops and SynthSynth and so on, I was downloading. This was my first download over CompuServe back then in the 90s.
Oh.
I was downloading what's the name? Music Maker. Music Maker.
Mm.
So Music Maker was pretty noob friendly back then. So you drag in just predefined loops. I don't know. It was pretty shitty actually. The loops were pretty cheap. So I was dragging in the stuff and I thought, this is actually great. But then I wanted to do my own loops. So this is when this started. So I searched for some apps that could do, export some wave loops. And then I dragged in this into Music Maker, and then this was not enough. And then I started to go to Sonic Foundry's Acid. So this is how I started basically on the PC then. Yeah, and then it's at some point, I moved on to Reason 1.0. This came out. This was pretty dope. Then I moved to Logic on the PC until Apple bought it.
Yes.
With version 5.3 or so, I can remember this. And Logic had back then the first instruments inside of Logic. It was not VST, it was its own thing, basically. And then I moved...
Before Cubase?
Yeah. This was not a standard. This was just integrated into Logic. I think or maybe it was around at the same time when Cubase's VST started.
Yeah, maybe. I think Cubase was the first with what was
Could
this?
be.
This,
I can't
with
remember
VST.
exactly.
this Minimoog emulation, which
but these
like
plugins were very, very cheap and poor sounding.
Yeah, horrible.
And it was
horrible.
very low quality kind of. But the Logic synths are actually pretty dope. So I had back then ESX24, the Strum sampler, ES2, I can remember, and some very great internal audio effects. So I was doing a lot of music with Logic back then. And then at some point, when it became too old because Apple bought it, I was probably on Logic 5.3 for 3 years or something like this before I moved on to, I think it was Cubase then, the new SX version, or I don't know how it's called back then.
So you did always work fully in the box?
Yeah.
No hardware at all?
Yeah, around 2000, I bought a Virus C and some external gear, but it was not for me at all. It was horrible. It was not fun to use. I had no idea about MIDI, always latency problems. I couldn't play multiple things at once. I had not adopted to the workflow of sampling stuff and resampling and so on. So it was not fun. So I sold it at some point then, and we're back in the box. And it was also nice because you could just load in the project and everything is there, back there, right? You don't have to mark on the mixer and your virus and save a preset for that. Yeah, it's not today. You just recall a project from 2 years ago and everything is there. And this was not the case. And today it's modern again. When people want to forget actually their presets or their patches, they want to start new. But back then we wanted to have multiple projects at the same time.
I wanted to do that as well back then, to have everything recallable, but nowadays I just record the audio from the hardware as well, and then you can do everything still with it afterwards. So that's a great thing to do.
Yeah, it's actually so funny if you go through the whole process from 1998 to until now, how everything changes. Back then it needs to be clean enough. It needs to be on CD,
90s,
right? 44.1 kilohertz. As clean as possible, no noise at all. And then nowadays it's so you RC20 on everything, so you have this vinyl crackle on everything and so on. It's you have to adapt to basically all the trends all the time.
And in 2010, there was a time everybody was doing really noisy stuff, really dirty, noisy stuff. Music was completely dirty. And now we have like a little bit a balance. Maybe there's a little bit like analog feeling in the sounds, but not that clean 90s sound we had, like Yellow did in that time. Perfect music, everything. It was too clean from looking at it from nowadays.
Yeah, that's also the problem. Too clean is not good, in my opinion. You need to be
Most cases,
you need to have a bit of texture. You need to have failures in there, or errors, or maybe this makes the music give its character, kind of. When it's too clean, right, then it's not pleasant anymore. But like I said, you can see when you talk to other producers where they are in their arc of the journey, more or less. And back then,
like Jürgen also said that he started nowadays just recording stuff he's playing right now instead of recalling everything or building a lot of templates for everything. Just start from new, make mistakes, forget something, do something new, and play with everything you have in a new pull position. Not like, okay, I have everything set up. Okay, you have to cable everything so that you can start. But starting in your creativity process, when you have everything set up, everything templated, just puts you back in a streamlined way. And this is mostly where you lose a lot of creativity.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Like,
Sorry.
yeah, that's yeah.
But I just want to point it out, like you said before, in the beginning, you want to know everything, you want to be prepared for everything, and the more you get experienced, the more you say, "Don't do that."
Yeah, you want to switch your brain off or your knowledge
Yeah.
off, right?
Yeah.
Because when I make music or when I do music on stream, I always say like I want to move quickly through the project,
Oh.
right? I move on to the next sound and so on. And the reason for this is because when I take my time for the sounds, sometimes my brain switches in. Is the snare good? Maybe I should EQ more of this, right? So I put in, then the brain comes in and does a lot of shitty things to the sound.
Yeah.
And my gut feeling is most of the times better because I have always this thing when I bounce out my previews or my tracks, my drafts, and then I have also later on, or when I progress in the track and then I bounce it on later, and then I compare the earlier drafts and the later ideas, right? And most of the times, the first idea is always the best for me. And also, when I send this over to my girlfriend, he always prefers the first one when I don't think about it, when I just switch it off. But then people say, yeah, but you know all the stuff. Of course, you don't think about it. It's just in your muscle memory, right? So,
Yes and no. I think it's more like you said, the gut feeling. Is it the performance? Is it? And
yeah.
the more you overwork your performance, the performance gets lost.
Yeah, it's also like a kind of polishing the idea, and in the polishing process, you make a lot of stupid things because the brain thinks, oh, I actually need to exchange here the snare or the kick drum for something else, and then everything falls apart. And you also lost the initial idea. So I know here this Robert Babbage, he always makes a track in one day. And this is also a good argument for it, because it says, when I close the project and save it and open it up 2 weeks later, I completely lost my feeling or the groove for it. Of course, you need to make music in a kind of genre where you can make it, finish it in one day. If you make like soundtracks, or you need multiple days at least. But I kind of get what he means. I still don't do it. I do it in multiple
Iterations.
yeah. And it works kind of okay for me, but I always see that my first drafts are always the best ones, the best ideas.
I think the big danger is always nowadays that you add too much stuff, another track, more tracks, and reverb and the delay and everything.
Also, too much processing. You can
Yes,
just
yes.
put on effects on, and the CPU doesn't care. And when I started, like 2000s, around this time, when you had one reverb plug-in, one compressor plug-in, and the CPU is basically done, and then you need to bounce. So people don't know how good they have it, basically, with Bitwig and this DAWs nowadays. The CPU is, yeah.
But that's a big danger. I think I just did a remix for a band, which I already did actually 3 years ago, and then I had to put it out to finish it. And it was just, I thought, whoa, what the hell did I do? Lots of reverb and delay. And only thing I did was remove stuff until it sounded great. And that's a big challenge, I think.
That's also a good process, just removing things in a session. You limit yourself to, okay, today I'm just removing things that I don't need in this track. Where are the sounds I don't need? And then you start to remove it, and until you basically get the core idea of your track in a way.
But a lot of times people are doing such live streams. You do it as well. Like you often say that, like you do a maybe like 4, 8, 16 bar loop or something, and then you start removing stuff. And people watch that, and I'm not really sure if all people get that in the right way. So they say, "Oh, but that sounds so right." But at the end, you're preparing something, and maybe you're extending that to a complete song, and you have to remove stuff. You can't play everything all the time. You can, but it's very, very boring then.
Yeah. That's also true. I mean, the biggest, it's actually not easy to hear where the core of your track is and what actually the core is. And nowadays with music, I have also a bigger kind of a problem also with dance music. It's mostly texture. I see this in multiple areas. Like you probably also watch Netflix, right? Maybe not, but
I did. I don't have it anymore.
Maybe you know already some
Yeah.
Netflix movies.
Yeah.
And that's always the case, or that's the analogy I want to bring. You watch a Netflix movie and it looks super clean, super cool, like a cinema movie, and you watch it, and the end of the movie, you don't know actually what you watched or what's actually happening. And maybe the movie is also not that special. You kind of remember it from a different movie. It's maybe the same plot or something like this, but it looks actually completely fantastic, right? And this is also the case with modern music. So if you remove all the texture, all the nice sounds, the initial idea, the melody, the core it's not that special. But it's dance music. It's okay. It's not it's not a judgment. It's how it is with dance music. You want to dance, you want to have a groove, nice sounds.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
But that's why I also don't see myself like an artist, right? It's not like that I have a vision that I want to bring a message across or something like this. I'm just doing random music producer tasks, and then a dance floor tune comes out of it, right? So that's more or less it. So that's why
I would say, because you do it and it's your style of doing it, that's art. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think at some point I said I came up with the saying that the decision you make is the art. So the decisions you do along the way, this is basically the art you do.
And the result.
The more decisions you make, then the more art, the more it is you basically, and the more it is your track in the end. So if you rely on AI, then it's probably not your track. You came up with a nice prompt, but that's also something. I mean, it's not nothing. It's something, but it's not like that's
it's different. It's completely different.
People always talk about AI and they say, it's like you do something, but it's just not that much in a way. But you do something. You type in a prompt.
You have an idea and tells something to do something.
Yeah, but what is when you have Neurorec? So you put in some things, some connections, and then you have a generative patch, and then something comes out of it. It's also basically random. So did you do something? Did you have a vision? Oh, I want to make actually this sequence that sounds exactly like this, and then you patch it so it sounds like this, or you just dabble around and
I think it depends how you start with it. If you have an idea of doing something, like I want to have this sequence, but you end up in a completely different area.
Yeah,
it's still art. It's still art because you tried it, you failed in a way, but you succeeded in another way.
Yeah, that's what I meant with the decisions. You made along the way certain decisions. You maybe put in certain connections, and then you have a sound, and then you say, oh, this sounds great, maybe I put something like this on that, right? Then you make another connection, another decision, and another decision, and then at the end you have something. Exactly. And then this is the art, the decisions you make along the way. It's the same thing in Bitwig, in the DAW, more or less.
Yeah. So sometimes I do some like mini challenges with people from my Discord, like let's destroy something, because this is a different
that's easy.
approach. No, but sure, you can just distort everything. That's good. You can do that, sure. So, but just to create something, to destroy something, this is a different approach to do things, and sometimes this is really a creative way of leaving the path you're normally going.
I think the big point or the important point is that you actually do something, that you start to do something.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
It's just the level got smaller and smaller, what you need to do to come up with a finished song. And this is something really shocked me a bit, what the level you get out of these things nowadays. It's really of a quality I would not notice now anymore that it's done by an AI. And I think in lots of areas that's good enough, basically.
Yeah, I think it doesn't with the AI thing. I don't think it actually makes everyone jobless, or it's more like the average stuff. So there's like an opportunity for people to actually make special music, right? So something experimental more, because the normal average kind of sound or average kind of music, that's covered by AI, right? You don't need to do this. But the average kind of music is also just maybe pop music, right? So music most people don't like in the, let's say, underground scene or whatever, or people that really are into music. They don't listen to pop music or this kind of average kind of music. They have a special taste. So there's always room for people to make good music. Everything AI does at the moment for me is just taking away jobs from people that actually just make music because they want to make money, in a way. Probably. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I was thinking about there's this genre or how do you call that, music. This is just music for elevators and shops and so on that plays in the background, and a lot of, I have the feeling, it's not about judgment of this, but I have a feeling that a lot of average pop music is like music, and AI is reducing those people who producing such useful music, because it's nice while you go shopping, it's nice while you I don't know, do something and listening to not concentrated to it. In my history of music, it was always, music was a big thing for me. Always I was going to parties, to clubs and everything, just because of the music. This was my first thing, and I was so happy every time I discovered some new or interesting music. And like you said, experimental music that doesn't have to be like free jazz or something like that. Just interesting music, not like the average what you hear all day in, day out, and something like that. And I'm completely with you. I think all these artists that who creating music out of their creativity, mind, fantasy, or just out of a moment, like sitting down, starting with something, and you don't know what's happening, and you create a specific moment, a specific music in that moment. I think that this will always have a future, and everything else maybe AI will take over. But I never cared about that in history.
I can say probably we all kind of make music not because to make money. We all make music because we have fun making music or doing the process, right? So AI is never actually an option for us. So it's not about the result. It's more like about the way or the path.
So do we wish for any kind of components in Bitwig which give us AI tools?
I would say yes, but not maybe in a creative way. I also use AI here and there, but not for like generating text or anything like this. But I use it like a tool. So transforming German to English, for instance, right? So without creative outcome. So it's more like a tool for me. And I see a big opportunity there. Maybe you have what I want to see, actually, that's maybe not so big of an AI task, but I dream of like a tool or a feature where you can drag in a sound that you like, and then the AI figures out a way to actually recreate this in a subtractive synthesizer, for instance, right? because you need exactly this sound, but you need it more like in a synthesized way instead of a sample, and then it recreates this in a synthesizer. This would be nice to have. It's also not something I would use every time to make sounds, but sometimes you need a special sound for something, and instead of tweaking around there for hours, you just drag it in and then the AI figures it out. This would be great, actually. And maybe for beginners, some kind of chatbot, maybe I could imagine like this.
Yeah.
You can try this, maybe do something, inspire people, encourage them to try something new, or maybe some ideas, some challenges that the AI comes up with, and then making people basically having fun making music, and not get stuck in a certain type of corner of Bitwig.
So personally, I'm still feel like a musician, or I also play in bands. So I'm more coming from the instrument side, and I would find it absolutely boring typing stuff into a chatbot to do the music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't make music because of that, because of the result. We make music because we have fun,
right?
Touching instruments and playing, creating music.
And the interactivity. So I think that's an interesting challenge if they come up with AI to give it a kind of interactive feeling, which is more like do this or that writing in a prompt.
Maybe like you have such a system where you play as a keyboarder or a drummer, and you have an AI band around you that reacts to you. Maybe like that. So
this could be also something, yeah. I always wanted to have like a gaming system in Bitwig. These are like no. Wait, hear me out. These are kind of my secret wishes. I don't tell anyone.
Okay.
Or the Bitwig stuff. It's just in my brain. But I think it would be great actually to have some kind of gaming system where you switch on the gaming system, and then you have some kind of challenges. Make a tune without using dynamic processors, right? Without compressor. Make a tune, and then you learn to limit yourself to kind of make a track in this way without getting overwhelmed with all the variety of instruments and audio effects and so on. And then you level up, and the more you level up, the more devices you unlock.
No pun intended.
This is a great idea. This is really a great idea.
Yeah, everyone talks about DAWless and limiting myself. I have to limit myself, so being creative and so on. And this would be great. Actually, lock down Bitwig completely, and you have only access to the sampler and maybe an EQ. And then you need to make music with this. And when you do 3 tracks and you send it to the AI, and AI says then, oh, that sounds okayish, then you level up, right? And then you get a new instrument or new.
But that's already there. It's called Bitwig 8-track.
But then you need to level up. This is then pay to win. You need to pay money for the next version, and you level up. Then
you're right. We are all cheaters.
Pay to win. That's not good.
You're right.
But there is some kind of game, right? Some kind of modular Eurorack system kind of game, Signal State or something like this is the name. You have to make challenges, and then you have Eurorack modules. You need to combine them.
Really?
Yeah. There's a game like this. I think it's called Signal State. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Maybe the chat knows more.
But this would be a great idea for third-party developer, like creating such a leveling system or something where you could include like community challenges or something, and the machine or the AI or whatever. I don't think it has to be AI. It's just like reaching some points and stuff, and then there's a jury or something that says you got like 20 points, or I don't know, Allemagne 10 points or something like that, and then you got the points. theoretically, you could achieve this already right now, I think. I'm not really sure. But this is something for a third-party developer, maybe.
There's
Jürgen.
some great ideas here. Grand theft articulations and respawning.
Yeah, but when I talk to other producers like on Superbooth, which is coming up this year, I have the feeling that a lot of people actually make music alone, and they need people just to talk to a nerd with them about instruments and doing music. Also, when I did these one-on-ones, I have the feeling some people just want to have a partner and
talk
exchange, talk about the thing, about Bitwig, about the hobby, about the nerdism, and maybe an AI can solve this in a smart way. It's not I know, but you know what I mean. It's just better than nothing.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but connect to people. That's a good thing to do, even with Eurorack and stuff like that. It gives
but we are trying all this with such formats like this, your streams, and everything, or Superbooth or other happenings. We try to connect people and tell them, or Discord. You have a big Discord running since years right now, and this connection or this connects people to each other. But I think what would be even better, what you're suggesting is like do collaborations, make music with other people. You can do this via internet, via some tools. It's very cheap to do that. Just do it. Just call someone, say you like to do a track with me. Let's do one track, and then back and forth, and it's not that difficult.
But I have to say, collaborations are not easy, in my opinion. You need to click with the other person.
Sure.
And when you have a certain level, then you need also the other person on the same level, so you kind of complement each other in a way.
Sure, but you can see that like you can learn, the other can learn. If you what you're talking about is like already in a very professional way. If you want to make a really finished, polished track and something,
okay. I see.
Like collaboration, like learning, like
dabbling
evolving.
around,
and and connecting to people. More the connecting to people with collaborations.
Yeah, that's the first thing you absolutely should decide on first. What is the goal you try to achieve? Do you want to do it for fun, or do you really want to make a product out of it, or these things? Because the problems come up if you don't do that in the beginning, and if for one is expecting to have a finished album maybe, and the other one just to have fun. So.
Yeah, for me, it's actually it's a challenge because I have always a straight vision. I know exactly how the kick drum needs to sound. I know exactly how the snare drum needs to sound. And when someone changes it, I get angry. And then the collaboration is over. But no.
Give me my kick drum back.
But I had some very nice one-on-one Discord sessions where I did the music and collaborated with someone, and it helps me actually to let loose of the, don't just let loose and let it happen, basically. So yeah, it helps me also in a way to collaborate.
Yeah, that's
great.
Sorry.
I said I just wanted to skip AI because it's so boring and everybody talked to death about it. But since it came up, I think it was a good talk. But one thing I'm still curious about is you did also a lot of generative music. How did that happen?
Actually, I don't know. It just
so you did not read the paper or something about it because I think it's not something you just learn how to do it, or it's.
I just did it. I learned how to do it basically with just one voice in the grid, and it worked kind of neatly. And then the patches became bigger and bigger. And I knew that Brian Eno was kind of pioneering this back in the day.
You didn't do that before with anything else? Or
not really, no. I mean, I tried maybe something like this to hold a drone and then make some processing on it, or maybe with feedback and so on. but I never really did it like in Eurorack or VCV Rack or anything like this. It started actually with the grid in Bitwig Studio. Yeah.
Wow.
And I just do it for fun. Actually, it's not like it's not like, oh, I want to be a generative artist or something like that. I just play around and have fun, and then I put it up on my GitHub for people to download. So yeah, but before it was straight. I mean, in Cubase before I was going into Bitwig, I was using Cubase, and I'm doing everything in audio on audio tracks. So pretty straight, nothing
Recording.
changes over time. On point, exactly why I wanted to have. And then with Bitwig, I started to use the sampler and MIDI or notes, because I figured out in the beginning of Bitwig 1.0, it was actually not that great with audio. I think it had some just one algorithm for stretching.
Yep.
Yeah. So I started to use basically the sampler and MIDI and putting Node FX on it, and it was much fun. Was much better for me. So I kind of made out of a problem. I came up with a solution, and then I kind of liked it in a way. So this is always like it happens for
Blown
me.
away. I'm always watching your videos and thinking, what is he doing there? And then it comes up.
I have no idea either. I have no idea. I'm just switching OBS on, and then I'm thinking, what is
happening here?
What's happening? What I am talking about today? I have no idea. And then I have some random stuff I came up with. I did the day before or something, and then I just talk about it. So this is.
I just did it once when I had a really bad hangover, when I had to do a talk, and somehow looked down at me and thought, what is this guy talking about? He's doing a cool job, but I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we should have a switch to the actual Bitwig 5.3. What we think about it and what's new and cool or
Bitwig.
not.
Bitwig, yay!
And nevertheless, if you have questions for Robert or Polarity, just write them down in the chat, and we'll do that afterwards. So, have we been waiting for these new drums?
In a kind.
I mean, I did already a rant video about this kind of. I think the problem is for me, everything Bitwig puts out is kind of great. It's good sounding, it's good quality, and there's good thinking behind it, right? But everyone needs something else or something different. So for me, it's a nice, good 0.1 update. I think it's great. There's a lot of nice content in there. But I think most people just wait for the next big version. They wait for some updates in the piano roll workflow or whatever. For me, I'm actually happy how Bitwig is. I maybe wanted I want what's the name, interface designer, so I can make my presets better. But it's like arguing or like complaining on a high level. It's not like that. I would be okay if it's not in the next release. Let's put it this way.
Yeah. It's a wish list at the end. Like I see it the same. Bitwig at the current state is really great DAW. Sure, in every product you have, there's something you can improve, and there's some things that should have been improved a longer time ago. But at the end, you can do everything you want.
I feel the same. I would love to have more bugs fixed and to have it more stable instead of coming up with new features and new features and new features. But I guess it's also triggered what other manufacturers are doing. So someone does a grid sequencer, so we need also a step sequencer here in the Bitwig version. That's the way it goes, I guess.
Yeah.
But coming back to the to the drums you mentioned earlier, I think it's nice to have them, and that they improve the drums with all the key tracking. This was a really big improvement because in the first beta they hadn't have key tracking, and you can do really fun stuff with it. It's just some other devices you have to play around with and develop some new sounds or different, how is it, timbres and stuff. I like the new drums. Didn't wait for it, but they're nice.
I like them too. It's not like that I don't like them. It's
No.
just it's okay just for me, and I haven't waited for drums. Let's put it this way. It's
We have gazillions, I guess, of plugins.
yeah, but they are nice. They sound
Yeah.
great, and they are
Absolutely,
useful,
absolutely.
and I use them also already here and there. So for me, it's a nice small little 0.1 update.
Yeah,
It's good. It's cool.
absolutely.
So, but nevertheless, there's lots of stuff in it because also lots of stuff happened in the background. So, what do we think about this new audio system improvements, which was something which was really a bit of necessity, I guess. It has a new look, which I'm not so sure about because I have lots of devices. We could also have maybe have a quick look at that. Not at that. Not yet.
Not yet. Oh my God.
Not yet. Where is it? Come on.
It's still there.
Here it
No,
is.
it's there.
So here we have our new step sequencer, which we decided to skip to talk about it. Or do we? Okay, but nevertheless, let's have a look at the audio settings, which I have to say I find a bit confusing because I have quite a lot of inputs and outputs. So it's
That's
not.
But that's your problem. I'm sorry.
Okay, you're right.
okay. That's not how it looks at my place. I just have two lines.
And maybe that's a problem with the developers. They also have only two lines. And I'm not sure. I did not dare so far to click these. What do you know? What happens when you do that? Is it just hidden and you can show it again, or it's gone completely, or what? What does that do?
I'm not really sure if this have already a function, but
Okay.
I
Okay.
think that the star is to make it default. That's what the description says. If you leave the mouse over it, I think you get a description, a little pop up. I had
Favorite
that.
plus make it appear top level. Okay. So I guess if I did that and it's an input, and if I go here to an audio track, so it should be.
Then it's at the top. Yeah, it's a faff.
Where's Fav?
We don't see that because you just shared your window.
It's an extra window. Yeah, that's a problem always with streaming.
Okay, but nevertheless, I don't see a Fav in this window.
We neither.
Okay, it says analog 5, so it's a Fav, but it does not show the name. Okay. Need to check that out in more detail. Okay, so that's a thing, and maybe I don't dare to click that. So I'm on Windows. I didn't get these other cool features. So did someone check out I'm not sure. You're on Windows too, Robert, right? Or are you on Mac?
I'm on Windows, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Odo,
I want to move to Linux actually at some point, but at the moment it's Windows.
Yeah, I feel you. So Odo, you have to tell us, did you do a device aggregation? Does it work on Linux?
Device aggregation? What do you mean with device aggregation?
Combining multiple audios
to audio devices?
I don't need Bitwig for that. I have Pipewire. I can do it with everything. But there was in beta 5, I think, I was really angry because I didn't notice that they changed that, and then I wanted to record something, and I was going nuts because the standard device, they took the monitoring as input, and I had the capture on another virtual card and everything. I don't want to repeat all that, but they changed it back in the beta 6. Now it's beta 7, and now the default has the capture input and the normal output, and I can combine that in. I think that doesn't have the name aggregation combined or something, combined interfaces or something. So I can
Yes.
combine a lot of interfaces in Bitwig to do something, but I don't need that because I'm doing that all with Pipewire.
And
I guess
I
what
only have just one sound card, so I don't know
yeah,
why people have multiple sound cards.
what they said at the NEM show, one motivation for that was also their new interface. So you could integrate this new interface for CV, for example, with your existing audio interface. So this makes
It's a good
sense.
thing. It's a really good thing you can combine that. So I don't know about Mac if this is not so easy possible or something, but I'm used to right now on Linux to use Pipewire, and I just connect a wire and that's it, like in the grid. If I want to have a connection from A to B, I just connect it. I don't need a software for that or something. It's
But it
just
also introduces latency, right? It's not like with
no,
the
not in Pipewire.
okay.
It's
Linux is the best.
Sure. Superior.
But also not on Mac, I think. It's just also handled by the OS.
I don't know how the Mac routing system works, but I think they have something similar. We need a
And
Mac guy.
And the other thing they did is that it remembers settings for different audio interfaces. But what I think is a little bit sad is that you cannot change it yourself. So it somehow picks a favorite or something. And I know that my good friend Beat also want to have that. I think he's in the chat as well. And yeah, so that's a bit of an oversight, I think.
But I think this is beta. This is really new. So I imagine that they're still working on it, like on the little more usability, especially if you have like 20,000 in and outputs like you have. I think this is a work in progress a little bit.
Yeah,
but at the end, I think for the most people, it works really great.
Yeah, right, sure, absolutely. It's definitely an improvement, but as also Beat wrote now in the chat, he wants to have it for the same audio interface, different settings, and that makes absolutely sense. So you can have different configurations for your setup, especially if you have lots of inputs and outputs.
But isn't that possible already?
Okay. No, then you have only this one setting if you change it.
But I could create in earlier versions different setups of the same audio card, and I just had to switch it. That was the case in Linux, but I think it was in Windows as well. I don't know. I always could create a new what is it? Not select. It's different right now. But I could create a new configuration, and in this configuration, I could set up other things like different sample rates and stuff, and so on. This was in earlier versions. Now it looks a little bit different, so I don't know. If you go to select devices, for example, where ASIO Med FX, just open that. We can't see it. Sorry, because it pops up a new window.
Yeah, I actually can't wait to put my hands on the new audio device. I want to try it out. I want to see it. I want to feel it. I want to touch it.
Same here. Same here.
And then I want to throw out my old device, my old audio interface.
But speaking of, I think I have a feeling how you feel about that interface. So, what's your first impression on that interface?
For me?
Yeah.
I kind of think it's great. At least having the CV outputs there. For my semi-modular Moog stuff here, it's probably really great. For Eurorack, you probably want to have these outputs directly inside of the Eurorack, like with the Expert Sleepers thing there. Also, I'm not really sure about the button doing multiple things. I'm not sure if I like this. Depends if how sensitive the touch wheel is or the knob is for turning and so on. But I can't imagine actually having a when I have a volume knob, I always want to have the volume knob at changing the volume, because sometimes you have an accident, right? It gets loud, and then you are in some kind of different mode, and you panically switching between the modes to get actually the loudness, if you know what I mean. So I'm not really sure about this
in
one.
the videos, it looked also a little bit in the videos that it might be a bit tough to switch between these different modes. So I'm not sure how often you want to change the volume or then operate it as a parameter. But I think the idea is great to have it like that, and this combination.
Yeah, I think it's something you need to try out. You need to experiment with
Yes.
this and maybe see if it's actually helpful for you. I am also myself someone, I prefer keyboard and mouse over everything. So I have also my audio interface, which there's a volume knob. I have it in the back of my desk here. So I have to see. I have to try it out actually to make then a finished an opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it looks nice. It looks very heavy. Also, probably good converters in there. So it's a nice device you want to have as a Bitwig fanboy.
Absolutely.
I don't think not only as a Bitwig fanboy, because it's a combination of an audio interface, MIDI interface, a controller, and the whole CV stuff. And the combination with a controller, this is really great. I really love that, because you have a little machine that does a lot of things, and maybe it's everything you need in many cases.
Yeah. I would say that the one thing I would change on this device, I haven't tried it out yet. That's just from looking at this picture. The one thing I would change would probably to have a separate volume knob. So I have always, the volume knob separate, and you can't switch the mode on the volume knob. But that's only one thing. But the rest, it looks dope to me, actually.
I thought about, there's this feature where you can lock this knob to a parameter, where you double tap or something. and maybe something like that, you just hold it down and then turn it, would be the main knob. And then you have your one knob always there. If you just press it down and turn it, and it's always the main knob. That would be nice.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no need for it, but I just wanted to get it for the orange.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Apple, right? You don't need it, but you
Yes,
just want it.
Yeah.
It looks actually fancy.
I look for.
I mean, look at it. How it is on the desk there, a little bit on top. It looks so fancy. Just look
like this. This one.
Look at this.
I think it's a great combination for people. All these performers you see at Superbooth, for example, who come with a laptop for some backing stuff and have a small modular case and want to have a transporter. That's basically it. And I think on such a crowded market as audio interfaces is, I think it's a very good combination of ideas, which makes it unique.
Yeah. I also want to make my hardware stuff a lot smaller, because I have too much stuff in here. It's probably the same for you, Jürgen. But
too much stuff.
I want to make this a bit more compact, right? And this goes exactly in this direction, because I just want to have a semi-modular synthesizer and then maybe spice it up with some CV signals. This could be really interesting for me. I'm looking forward to actually try it out. But I don't know when it's coming out. Maybe I get a test device, or we get a test device, or I don't know.
I would love to test that.
Yeah, me too. We all want to test it.
We want to test it. We want to test it.
Udo, if I have the device first, you can come over and can touch it if you want to.
Okay, I won't touch it. Please let me touch it.
Only look at it.
It would be nice. When I watched all these videos, I already had 1, 2, 3 ideas what you can change, like your volume knob thingy or the double tap thingy to release it. Why double tap? Why not just one tap to release it or something?
That's the problem with creative people. They have always ideas.
Sorry.
Yeah, and people ask me now every day, what is with all your controller extensions? Can they do the same with this knob? I got asked this basically the minute it was announced. And I know people are waiting for this for ages, and I hope it will be an API, but I still also don't know. So I will try to find out soon.
Yeah, but normally nowadays you can do everything with everything. It's just it's not like you probably can just buy some random controller and you can do similar things what this thing does in a way.
But the thing is, for the controlling, this function so far was not available, so there was no information. This parameter is selected now. No? You only had these cursor parameters, but no info about what the user is with the mouse over, for example, or what he pressed the last time. And I hope this will be now available to everybody soon.
Yeah, hope so.
Even for Cubase or Ableton users that switches to Bitwig.
Yeah, okay. To be honest, also for Ableton users, it's a very interesting device. Maybe they don't get this feature with the parameter changing, but also with the other features to have the transport control and to have the CV and also lots of inputs and outputs. At that form factor, I think it's a great device for Ableton users as well.
Does the Push 3 have actually an audio interface integrated?
Yes, it does. And it has also an extension, which might be something missing here, that you can also connect an ADAT device. So you can add more channels, inputs and outputs with that.
Okay.
Because at the main device, it doesn't have so much connectivity.
But there's also one thing. This is the first Bitwig hardware device, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is maybe a hint that there is coming more at some point.
Maybe. But it's a really great thing for first device.
I mean, it shows they are not shying away from creating hardware for Bitwig as a software company. So I don't know more. It's not like I'm just guessing. But when I say something like this, people always think I have more insights, right? I don't know. I have no idea. But my thinking goes like this: oh, this is the first hardware device. So when they make one hardware device, why not make two, right? At some point in the future, in 10 years or 5 years, I don't know. But
yeah, I also had no idea about this thing. This came absolutely out of the blue.
Me neither. No idea.
They were always saying, hardware, we're not sure. It's complicated. And
I got a PDF 3 days before it was announced. And I saw the PDF and then I thought, oh, okay, cool, nice. Okay. That's also a nice sweetie for the 5.3 release. So now we have basically a new version and this device. I mean, it costs money, but still there's something on the market that connects to Bitwig in a way.
Great. So there is also one feature I'd like to talk about a little bit, which is not maybe too Odo's LA, but I find that very interesting because Bitwig is the second company who supports a DAW on Windows on ARM. And I think this is very, very interesting because as you see what Apple did with ARM, so have no fans at all and lots of power. And you can get this now with Windows as well. And I could not resist and ordered a laptop last week with ARM. And so far it's only Cubase and Bitwig. So this is a bit of a game changer, I think. And drivers also coming up now. So you have all the Steinberg devices are supported now, and also RME brought out the first driver for ARM. And yeah, I'm really curious how this will perform. Do you have any opinions about that? Odo?
Odo, okay.
No, just joking, Robert.
Okay.
I guess you have an opinion about it as a Windows user.
Yeah, I think I'm actually looking forward maybe to buy at some point maybe an Apple again. I'm not really sure, but I think the new laptops, the M3, M4, I don't think you actually can make the CPU die out with Bitwig alone. I think that's not possible. They are so strong,
Yeah,
so
right.
powerful. It's unbelievable. It's nothing compared with what I started in 2000 or 1998. Nothing compared. You can do everything. You can load in so many VSTs and devices, and put this in one project, and the CPU is just smiling. Unbelievable. Yeah, that's my
Right.
these are my thoughts about it. I just want to buy a Macintosh. Yeah. No, but ARM devices are actually only Windows, right? These new Snapdragon CPUs.
These
I'm
new
not in.
Snapdragons are with Windows, right? Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
but Apple has already their M1, 2, 3, 4 is now already the current
But
one.
this is also ARM.
This is also ARM
Yeah,
architecture. So
yeah.
maybe for people who don't know, so ARM is the company who does chip architectures, and then companies can license it and do their own changes to them as well. So that's what Apple did and brings out these M1 chips or MX. And Windows does it also for quite some time, but the chips they had were very, very bad so far. And now they have this Snapdragon X, which is very, very fast. And as the test shows, absolutely up to par with what Apple provides. So I'm really
Okay.
curious how this will work out. And you don't have any more these noisy computers. That's still something that freaks me out.
I hope you make some test videos about it when you buy. Actually,
Yeah, that's absolutely my plan. Yeah, I hope to
yeah,
get
nice.
it next week.
That would
And
be nice to know.
yeah.
I have Bitwig running on the Steam Deck. It kind of works fairly well when I load in a big generative patch. But it's the touchscreen is too fiddly. It's not fun to play around with the touchscreen. You need at least to have a mouse and a keyboard for it. But yeah, it works. I mean, you can run it on Steam Deck, which is nice.
Oh, do you do that?
Yeah. I made a video also about it. I'm using what's the name? Touch OSC,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm basically using in Touch OSC and get the buttons and the controller data and so on. You have analog sticks and digital sticks, and then you have on the side these shoulder buttons are also analog. So you have like values. It's not like on off. You have values. And then I'm using this inside of Touch OSC, grabbing all the information and then putting out MIDI and MPE data to Bitwig. Works really great.
So you run Touch OSC on the Steam Deck, not Bitwig itself.
Yeah. Basically, Steam OS, then Bitwig on it, and Touch OSC on it, and everything is connected. I made a video about it.
Yeah, I'm
not on my
video.
channel. I made a small video for the Bitwig Instagram account. So nothing big, just 1 minute or so. Yeah,
I think I saw videos of someone who ran actual Bitwig on it. So this is working as well, it seems.
I mean, it's not really practical to have it on Steam Deck. What I could imagine, for instance, when I have these generative patches, maybe you have like an event or something like this, or exposition, or what's the name, gallery, and you want to have some generative stuff playing in the background live without having it recorded to MP3 or anything like this. You just have a Steam Deck in the corner, and then you can let people play with it maybe, and then it changes the generative patch. I mean, could be something. It's just an idea.
And it looks nice.
It looks nice, yeah.
Yeah.
There's one question just came up in the chat. Do we think that Bitwig will be bought by another company? Here it says Steinberg Yamaha, which I think will definitely not be the case because Steinberg is doing a door for Yamaha.
So what I know is that Bitwig is very good on the market, does very well on the market. The team is not too big, and it sells for the team size. I think it sells well, at least what I heard. And they wouldn't bring out a hardware device if they had problems, money problems in any way. So I guess the answer is no to that. They probably have some investors, but I don't have insights into that. But yeah, and they also play. It looks like to me that they play the long game. It's not like they want to, go big very fast. They play like the underdog kind of. We go with the Eurorec nerds and play along with that, because you can't compete with Ableton directly from zero. It's not possible. Or with Logic, it's just too big. There are completely different numbers. I don't have the numbers, but in terms of size, of company size, Ableton is just another universe. So Bitwig is like 12, 11, I don't know, 12 maybe.
No, they're much more by now. They're over 30 now.
Yeah, okay. But it's nothing compared to Ableton, what they have.
And Ableton, I'm not sure. They sacked a lot of people. So I think there were about 700, 800 or something. But they sacked 200, 300.
Yeah, Ableton also makes the hardware itself, right? They have internally in the company, have they divisions to produce these hardware devices. And I think this Connect device is not made by Bitwig itself. It was probably, I don't know, I'm guessing.
I'm not sure, because I watched a video from them, I think, where they said it's all developed by them.
Okay. That's nice. That's dope then.
I also, in the first place, thought this is just a labeling thing, but they said
not a labeling thing. It's maybe a combination or collaboration of a big company that can produce these things, because it looks very good. And so there have to be people involved.
I don't know.
Have really
just plug it in a Linux system and read out the USB information, then you know.
Yeah, but that's really cheap. That's off the shelf.
No, but at the end, I think I could imagine that they really designed that all, and like Polarity said, give it to a company that has all the fabrication and everything in place. I don't think that Bitwig had built a fabric somewhere, not right now, for that Connect device, So.
There is just Anthony Marinelli released just a video where he visits at Super Booth Times Ableton, their hardware department, which is very interesting if you're into this nerd stuff. And they talk a lot about their process, how they developed the thing, and show some prototypes and stuff. So it's worth watching if you are into these things.
It's in my watch list from him. Yeah, I didn't watch it yet.
Surprisingly good.
I like his videos. He's doing great videos.
Yeah. But I can't hear Thriller anymore, which note is played at what time.
Yeah, he's very concentrated on that topic. But okay, there are people who want to know everything.
That's a good video. It's good.
What do you guys think is coming in the next big Bitwig version? Do you have any ideas?
New piano roll and arrangement thingies.
Improvements. And AI.
If it's not coming, if in the new version is no scale highlighting, I'm going to Reaper.
I want other colors. This is a deal breaker for me. No. I have no idea, because I'm everything I'm like you said sometime earlier, I can do, I think, everything with Bitwig, and that's
it's just the small things, right, that you
yes.
want to change sometimes.
I would love to have a really great shortcut system, but that is very special to me. But this is, as you said, really high level wish list. You know?
Yeah, it's also for me, it's not like, I can't use it anymore, they need to do something. It's like, I could easily switch to the version from 2 years ago and make music just fine. But yeah, yeah.
And sometimes it's good you have a name to scream. If something goes wrong, you always can say, "Yeah."
Yeah. We should rename this podcast to Shill Podcast.
I
We're
don't
not
know.
screaming enough here. Yeah, it's the small things that annoy me. No big features. Except one. I
Oh.
heard to do ARA, so we can use Melodyne or create something original about it, because that's really a nightmare to use with Bitwig.
But Melodyne could use clap.
Yeah, but it's still not working. They had this idea, and also there's an ARA extension already for clap. So
Okay.
they did that, but Bitwig did not implement that yet.
Okay.
ARA is just
So
an exchange format, right? It says here the file is
ARA is
displayed.
actually an extension to VST. So there are some additional functions for VST which tell the plugin where is the playback position, and that it gets directly the audio in advance and stuff like that. So that's also part of Clap, I think, now, but I'm not fully sure. But I guess there needs some work to be done.
So the borders are getting lower.
It gets
too.
lower, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
But maybe it's really like it takes some time. And as we said earlier, we had this whole rebuild of the 3D engine of Bitwig, then the whole audio system thingy. And like you said, the company is big enough, but not that big that they could do everything at the same time. So maybe it just takes time that it will come. Or Melodyne is using finally Clap.
I can tell you what I don't want. I don't want to have any plugins at all.
Plugins? Do you mean devices?
And I don't need any devices. There's much too much stuff already.
Bam, Reverb Plus.
Yeah.
Oh, we heard you want
Delay
to
plus
you want
plus.
to have piano roll improvements and workflow improvements. Here is Bitwig Studio 6.0. Bam, Reverb Plus.
And Piano Roll Plus.
So okay, but let's get serious. What do we really miss in the piano roll here?
Maybe Chad could suggest some things, because I'm.
Oh, it talked about in my video about making the piano roll more like modular, like a grid. You can exchange things.
I didn't get it. How should it work? Or what's the idea there?
Yeah, the idea is more like that you can rearrange it. I mean, I haven't thought this through, but the idea is that you can maybe rearrange certain keys to different places, maybe, or remove certain keys so people can realize their scale highlighters, or that you can actually visualize, or maybe put the piano roll in half, or maybe in a different, I don't know, what's the name, tone nets, something like this, or maybe that you have chord progressions in a better way visualized, that you can see where are the fifths and the fourths and so on. So tasks you do all the time. Maybe some basic functions like that you can invert the MIDI data, the note data, invert it, or mirror it, or repeat it, or stuff what Ableton basically did in the last update, more or less.
One thing I would have in the piano roll as well is triplets and dotted raster. They have septones, fifth tones, and something, but no triplets or dotted. This is basic. It just came to me some weeks ago where I said, why don't they have triplets and dotted? This is the most basic thing at the end. This would be nice. Because in the beginning, when I wanted to put that on dotted, I said, okay, I know what dotted is, but why can't I put this piano roll grid on dotted? Why not? So, and one thing we talked about in our nightly talk some weeks ago, you had this idea with the grouping or folding patches, that you can fold or group parts of patches. So you can.
Yeah, but I think with the grouping, the problem is this: the grid was not designed, glaube ich, was not designed as an instrument builder. It was more like an easy, hands-on, modular synth.
Yeah.
But then I came in and built basically these big patches, and then people want to group stuff.
It's all your fault with the grid.
Yeah, that's also the problem with the oversampling, right? When you have a lot of connections, then everything is basically audio. So then people started, maybe we can turn off the oversampling. But then you probably end up basically in the place where plug data is, where you have different signal types, data signals and audio signals. So audio signals are oversampled and data signals are not. But yeah, I don't know. They probably will come up with something pretty genius. I'm pretty sure. It's always also when Bitwig comes out with a new version, nobody knows what's going to happen. Everyone is. It's like Christmas Day. What did they do, right?
Especially the fine print is normally the interesting features for me. Not the big ones.
Yeah, the subtitles.
Yeah. The changelog is always the interesting part.
Yeah.
So great. We came to a natural end, I think. Do we have some final questions? I didn't see anything more in the chat. Odo, do you have final questions to Mr. Polarity? Oh, tough one.
I mean, we talked about pretty much everything, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. I'm sweating like hell here. Do you have some questions for us?
I hope they improve the API, the documentation. Hey.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, please do that. It's really, really bad. Kind of input configs. Yeah, no, you can't. What is the next controller you will improve? Oh, I already have too much, to be honest. I need to do some consolidation, but
what's your favorite controller for Bitwig? What's on your desk?
My, that's what people ask me all the time. To be honest, my pretty totally boring Behringer X Touch here, because
you had this thing with the controller knobs on the edge, and then in the middle you have touch screen where you can put on some DSPs plugins. Is this actually good? Does this make sense? Is it fiddly?
How do I say that? I like the idea a lot, and if they do some work on it, it's great. But at the moment, it's a little bit difficult because for Bitwig, they have this function that they support all of the Bitwig devices, which is great.
Yeah.
But if you want to do VSTs, you need to do something else.
Okay.
So, and also transport is missing and such features, and they have no support for remote parameters and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit of a mixed bag so far. If they can combine this, I think then it will be really great.
Okay.
But yeah.
What do you think about the new Rode motor controller that came out with NAM? What's the name?
Rotor Control.
Melbourne Systems. What was this the name?
Rotor Control. Yeah.
Yeah, Rotor Control.
Yeah, from Melbourne Instruments or Systems.
Yeah, I really like the idea that you have small little displays below the knobs, because this was always a problem for me, that you don't know what the knob actually does at the moment, right?
Yeah, and you have this motorized knob. So this is absolutely new. So this is something that made me wake up a bit, because I think the controller market is as boring as it can get, because the normal controllers just always still use Mackie control from back, how old is it? 30 years? I don't know. It's with 7-bit display stuff, and it's horrible. I have to say it like this. So that's really something new. I'm looking forward to have a look at that one. So,
yeah, and it's also nice. It's very small, so it fits on every desk basically.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty interested in this. It's pretty expensive, but it looks very good.
And what's the price? I didn't hear anything. Do you know about that? So the price? Do you know?
500 or something, or 500 maybe 450. I can't remember it, but I saw a price at some point.
But it's still okay, I think, for motorized knobs and color
Yeah.
LEDs.
I think the quality is pretty dope. It looks at least pretty quality.
Yeah.
420, someone says.
Metal housing,
420, okay.
$420. Yeah, something like this.
Hmm.
I mean, Melbourne
$400.
System has also some synths out. They are pretty great, but also very expensive. But I played
Right.
around with these synths at Super Booth, and they're really nice. It's really fun, these knobs and the buttons. Super dope.
They also
want
sound great. I don't have the need for another a kind of analog synth, but they sound really good.
Yeah.
I don't like the color. That's the thing. So.
It's red, right?
Yeah, but a strange red. I don't know for the
It
knobs.
needs to be orange. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, maybe that's the thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
make it orange.
make it orange.
Do you know the hex code for the right orange?
Yeah. Okay. So
Behringer
Okay.
X
Back to the question. Yeah, Behringer is still a thing I use because for normal mixing tasks, for the faders, and I have the extenders, so I have 16 channels, and this is something that I can still fit on my desk and makes sense. And they have color displays. It's only 7 colors, but it's enough to see where your drums are, your bass are, and your normal sounds are, and this helps a lot. And I like also all the other controllers, but the thing is, you need to put them somewhere, and my desk is already a bit crowded.
Yeah, that's a problem also for me. I need to slim it down. I think my plan was at the beginning of the year, I get out some of my synths, my smaller synths, make some room, and then get a Moog Moose and play around with this. It's pretty expensive. But I really like the analog sound and, have a pad and then switch over to another voice and then play some ARPs on top, also analog. But it's very expensive and I don't really need it, but I want it, like with everything else, right? But I, want to sell some synths first before I get into that.
Right. I have also, my room has a natural limitation because
Yeah, that's
so no more.
If you can't enter anymore, it's too full.
Yeah, it's full. Right. So, guys, thanks so much. I think we came to a natural end. Great talk. I think we had all the topics, and we will be back next time when there is something to report. So maybe a Bitwig 5.4 or a 6 or a new hardware. We have no idea, but we'll be curious to see. Robert, you're always welcome to come back if anytime soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I hope you're not nervous anymore.
No, it's completely fine. It was going away after the first few sentences for some reason. It's just,
Okay.
Yeah.
So thanks also to everybody in the chat. Great that you have been with us. And if you have more questions, just put it down in the comments so we can talk about these next time. And until next time, make some funky music.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.